Peace, everybody. Get my commercial going.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the books is in. The books are in. Yep. They in. Here.
All right, peace. Is it still playing? My bad. I have my YouTube on in the background. Didn't even know it. But yeah, peace, everybody. This is your brother Satep and Rob Mariaman, the Kofi Pie Research Team. We are here today doing the Resurrection and Life case studies by state, Chapter 8, Destruction of Black Civilization. We appreciate everybody that's watching now. The 5,000, we just hit 6,000, y'all. The 6,000 people watching right now. I got that from Kofi and Shine. And we appreciate the people that's gonna be watching in the future. I got my brothers on the panel. I got Sutek, I got Sean. T'Challa here a little busy right now. He is on the panel though. We got Kofi. Sutek, what's up, man?
Peace. Share life for y'all need. Peace to the family. Make sure y'all like and share the show as y'all coming in. We about to do chapter 8 of Destruction of Black Civilization. You already know we black at you again. Make sure y'all like and share the show, as I said, and I appreciate everybody that will join us in the future. I know we just now starting off, but peace.
What's up, Sean? Sean might be working too. Got Kofi on here. What's up, Kofi?
Peace. I want to say, Rennie Kofi Paisai. That means my name is Kofi Paisai. Shimim Hotep. Dua Aku, Dua Netra. Fatmu Lafayette, Fatmu Riwi, Fatmu Iwa Pele, Majuba Iba Ie Gungun, Majuba Iba Ie Gungun, Majuba Iba Ie Lakba, Majuba Iba Ie Lakba, Gungun Kiki Gungun. I always have to give honor and praises to the ancestors, because without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. We are our ancestors. I also want to stand honor and praises to the true and living elders according to African traditions and from an African worldview and from an African perspective. Peace to those elders. Welcome back to Kofi Paisai TV with Kofi Paisai Research Team. We have another great, I think there's going to be another great discussion dealing with chapter 8. So I appreciate everybody that's been rocking with us for these last 8 weeks, dealing with our great ancestors publication, The Destruction of Black Civilization, the great issues of race from 4500 BCE to 2000 CE. So peace again, everybody in the chat. Peace to those that may be looking in the chat. Peace to my wife that's in the chat tuning in. And man, that's all I got.
All right, like I said, I think Brother T'Challa, he said he was busy. So we going so in this chapter, you know, they talking about economy, they talking Berbers, they talking Arabs, they talking Arabic language, they talking education, Moors, Maasai. You know, they going in on here, man. They talking about mulattoes and all that stuff. So you know, let's dive right on into it. Where you at with it, Kofi? Because I know you and Sutek, you know, y'all got this basically y'all deal with a lot of this stuff in this chapter. Where you at with it, Kofi? Your mic muted.
Yeah. I'll deal with it first. Because like I said, I did a presentation today. Was well received. Appreciate those that came and tuned in and supported the information that I presented, where I laid out a whole bunch of information about the carving up of Africa and the many issues that Africa has today. And it was.
Your mic got muted again, Kofi.
All right, were y'all able to hear what I was saying?
It just muted, so we heard.
Okay. Yeah, and this chapter, Resurrection of Life, Case Studies by State. So that would expire the presentation that I did today, and actually the first page and a half actually expired, but the whole chapter expired while I went in depth, where I tried to lay some context out. So when we start reading and talking, y'all kind of follow where we going. So I'll start off on page 195 for people that got their books. Go to page 195. That's chapter 8, the Resurrection of Life, Case Studies by States. They called it Ghana. So one black state defies the slow onslaughts of the Sahara for over 2,000 years. Hangings on its fringe far into historic times, just as though it was determined to let the world actually set how all its sister states and the vast wastelands had died. Furthermore, it is very antiquity and a similarity of its advanced institutions of those of Ethiopian Empire in the East has raised the question of whether it was a Western outpost or that empire. There is, of course, no question about the travel of blacks between Eastern and Western Sudan. The geographers were all among the first foreigners to arrive in the region in the 10th century AD. The Arabs and the European practice the naming countries, and the people often displays both the ignorance and arrogance. They did not condense the inquiry of the people about the naming of their country or the meaning of the titles of they held. So they call this country Ghana, meaning the leader, head state, or in the Western terms, to the king. Now I'm gonna stop right there, because when I started talking earlier, when I went straight into the presentation, I kind of gave y'all a little layout on how I wanted to come with the presentation. So we went straight into, before we started talking about the event that happened in 1884 with those European powers, including the United States. I talked about how they named these different countries. They carved out these different countries, set the borderlines up, and then they renamed everything. So they began to rename. So right here it says the Arabs and the Europeans and practice the naming of countries, and the people displays both ignorance and arrogance. They did not concede to inquire the people about the naming of their countries or the meaning of the titles they held. And we know, looking at the Berlin Conference, we know that there was no representative of any African official that was there doing the carving up or the plotting of setting, where they were setting stakes to these different things, and they began to name these different countries. And I talk about the different names real quick. I'm gonna kind of go through some of these names, because it says the meaning of the titles they held. So they called the country Ghana. But even going back to Ghana, studying back to Ghana, I know he's saying right here they called this country Ghana, meaning the leader, head of states, or in the terms of the king, because we finna get into Ghana and how Ghana became an empire. But Ghana, it has been called Ghana. And when the British came in, they started, I don't know if that was the official name, but they started referring to Ghana as the I can't pull up, as the Gold Coast. And then once Ghana won this independence back, they renamed that geographical location back to Ghana. But I want to talk about some of the names real quick. Like I said, I talked about them in the presentation earlier, but I want to kind of go over some of the names right now, because I know we think some of the names when we mention, like we mentioned the Republic in the Upper Volta, when we mention Mozambique, when we mention Mali, when we mention Sierra Leone, we mention Liberia. A lot of these places was named after European powers, and not only named after European powers, we know the Arabs also named some of these different countries. So my darn computer's slowing up. Y'all give me 1 second. I want to talk about some of these the naming of some of these places. So hold on, I'm in the wrong thing. But like I said, y'all give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull it up. I thought I had it up. I had the wrong thing pulled up. Well, shoot, man, I ain't gonna pull it up. I'll just come back to it. But like I said, some of those names, like even with Mozambique was named after an Arab. The Portuguese came into Mozambique and renamed excuse me, and renamed it after an Arab that has been there before the Portuguese got there. British. We talk about even if you talk about Gambia or Senegal, Gambia and Senegal was colonized by the French. Dang, I wish I can pull these names up, but I'll just stop right there, man. I'll come back because I kind of wanted to talk about some of those names and who actually named some of those countries that these Europeans carved up. But that's all I got on that page. I wanted to kind of break down some of those names, but I can't even I gotta find my darn slides again.
Okay, I got on 197, the second to last paragraph. It says control of caravan trade routes to the northeast, Ethiopia and Egypt was probably the most important factor in the overgrowth wealth of the nation. There were import and export taxes, a system of weights and measures, and control of inflation by limiting the flow of gold. Like, I wanted to point that out right there because it just shows, you know, the accounting of the people in the time period to where they knew they couldn't just keep kind of like now, like to where the government they don't want to keep printing money and stuff because, you know, inflation happens and stuff like that. When it's too much money in the market, it'll throw the economy off. So I just wanted to highlight that part right there.
What you at September around? What page you on?
On 197.
Okay, 197.
Second to last paragraph.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like the paragraph before that, let me just start. I'll start up. So it says the empire known as the land of gold became great, not only because of control, the greatness source of gold for both Europe and Asia, but also because of its iron mining and iron manufacturing over 1,000 years. Leadership in the iron industry made her a dominant power over less progressive people in the Western Sudan. This status and the mastery of iron also meant the development of mighty military power, equipped with some awesome weapons over which it had a monopoly. These weapons were heralded abroad, striking fear among neighboring states. Some were annexed without resistance. Others had to be conquered. And then that's when they get it. So he talks about the military. He talks about the gold. You got the gold there. Then they, you know, got the iron there. Then he discusses the military power right there. And then after that, you know, that's when he started talking about, you know, they had to control the distribution of the gold to stop so inflation wouldn't occur. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that iron is very important too, especially for the defense of that gold, because you got all that gold, you supplying gold in Asia and Europe. Anybody could just run up in there.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And take what you got. You know what I'm saying? So that iron smelting is very important for defense, not only defense, but further conquest.
Okay, now let me keep going because this goes into the next page.
Okay.
All right. where I'm starting at. Okay, yeah, I go right here. What's that? Kumbi, the capital with the hold on, moving page. Was a twin city of stone masons, temples, mosques, and schools along the thatched roof huts of the masses. All right. The larger towns and cities were generally located on or near lakes, rivers, or lesser streams such as creeks. And, you know, we talk about that. I'm about to talk about that. We got so much stuff we writing, man. So I'm actually about to get into how, you know, a lot of towns and during when man started to, you know, cultivate the land and stuff, they started settling near these lakes, near these rivers and these water streams. So the brother Chancellor Williams is on point with it. But let me get back to it. The Niger was the most important river for trade, travel, and war boats.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's when he started getting into the economy.
And not only that, but it was a food source as well. You know what I'm saying? It was it was important for trade, travel, and war boats, and it was a food source. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to add that in because it was a lot of these people that stayed close to that Niger River, and their occupation was fishermen, like the Sorko, who we're going to bring up later on in this chapter.
Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna get into the economics, then I'm gonna pass it off because I ain't got nothing unless y'all got something else on here. But it was a mixed economy of agriculture: wheat, mullet, cotton, corn, yams, and cattle raising: cows, horse, goats, camels, and sheep. The iron industry, mining, and numerous crafts were organized as guilds: blacksmiths, goldsmiths, jewelers, coppersmiths, stonemason, brick mason, water diviners, carpenters, weavers, sandal makers, dryers, cabinet makers, furniture makers, and potters. So this was part of their economy. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna stop right there because I could keep going because he go in on this chapter, man. But y'all got anything?
Well, I just got a question. You can go. Then you can go. Sutek. Sutek. You mentioned blacksmith. You mentioned goldsmith, jewels, coppersmiths, stonemason, brick masons, water divine, carpenters, weavers, sandal makers, dryers, cabinet makers, furniture makers, and potteries. Was these guys and this I don't know if Sean's still on here or not, and it's just a question for anybody in the chat and for Sean and or Sutek because they're more they're more well studied when it comes to the Arab culture, you know what I'm saying, and a lot of things that deal with the Arab slave trade and so forth. Was these okay, if one these fields I just named, right? The blacksmith, the goldsmith, were they some of the main targets during the Arab invasions when they came in and started enslaving slaving people later on? Because as we get further in the publications, we will see that it looked like to me that they was targeting these type of people. These were like some of the first people off the rip that they was actually kidnapping was these blacksmith, goldsmith, anybody that had some type of skill set.
Yeah. Yeah. Later on, in the Moroccan invasions, probably what you're talking about. They definitely took skilled craftsmen, educated men, anybody that can add something of substance to their empire. You know what I'm saying? Which we know that was a custom of the day back in that time. When you go to war with somebody and you conquer their land, you would take the skilled people to add to your empire to help it grow. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they was doing that.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's all. I just wanted to ask that question. I'm done with that. I ain't got nothing until maybe a page or two.
All right. Well, Sutek, you gonna get in on these Berbers on the next page, or you want me to? I'm trying to save it for Sutek.
Yeah, what page is that?
On 199, you know, he talk about them down in what is it, the second to last, or actually the last paragraph he talk about 'em.
Yeah, 190, 199 in the middle of the page. I got the destruction of the capital by the Muslims in 1076 and the great migrations of the country are part of the story, but only a part because the Muslims did not stay in force. This this invasion was simply another major force in the process of slow disintegration and what is I can't see that. And it expedited it. And it certainly stepped up the mass flight of Ghanaians southwards into the forest and to the coast. So basically telling you the Moors that came from Spain in 1076, those would be the Almoravids. Um, they came back and sacked Ghana or the Kingdom of Ouagadougou. So that was 1076. They say that it was the reason. Like it's a debate in academia right now if uh, the sacking of Ghana by the Almoravids is the actual reason why why the empire fell. Some scholars say that they continued afterwards, and it was other reasons on top of that. Some scholars say that was the exact reason why the empire fell solely. So we'll have to get more into that, but they definitely sacked Ghana in 1076. These Almoravid uh, Berbers from that was kicked out of Spain.
Yeah, and then in the paragraph right after that, the last paragraph, it says a second factor that affected the stability and growth of the country was the continuous raids by the Semitic nomads of the desert. Bear in mind that some of the attacking nomads, tributary subjects, mostly Berbers and Arabs. And then you got the footnote right there. So let's go down to the bottom of the page where the footnote is, and he tell you who these people are. A reminder: Berbers and Arabs generally include Black Africans, Afro Berbers, and I'll say so-called African Berbers and Afro Arabs, all converted to Islam. That's important. All converted to Islam. The most the most fanatical Muslims were often the blacks and the mulattoes. So the blacks and the mulattoes, they was the ones that they was the ones that was going the hardest. But let's keep going. The aims were booty and destruction. I don't know what that meant in that day. That's what he was talking about. Not conquest and settlement.
Booty talking about like trade.
Okay, yeah, because I was about to say that I know booty today don't mean what it meant right here.
Yeah, like spoils, like the riches.
Okay. The desert people hated settled civilized life regarding it as feminine. So they think that they think it's feminine to sit down somewhere and camp out. They like to be nomadic and stay on the move. The raiders appeared suddenly in surprise attacks and disappeared as suddenly. Settled communities were deserted and migrations developed in mass. The refuge movements within the country created interval tensions and conflicts, while movements from the country further weakened it. A chain reaction set in, and some of the internal causes of conflict and desegregation may be noted as follows. And then he go into all 10 points. We ain't got to get into all 10 points. Y'all can read into that, but I just wanted to lead into that. How they was talking about the Berbers and the Arabs, and I especially wanted the footnote at the bottom where he tell you who these people are. What you said you had something where Kofi?
I had something on 201. That's a page and a half over. We're talking about Mali now. So
I ain't got nothing I'm gonna let y'all know now. I ain't got nothing to about 206. So
yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. All right. I got a whole bunch of stuff. Well, let's talk about Mali. Real quick. I'm gonna start right here with Mali. I'm gonna just start at the top where it says Mali. Mainly, the second of the great three West African empires became well known as the Medieval world, and those great empires he's talking about is Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. We'll talk about Songhai a little later. Although its history has been traced back to Paleolithic times through rock paintings and carvings and other archaeological finds, such as Axelar Man in 1927, the empire rose in the 13th century with the decline of Ghana. Kengoba was the small kingdom in the Madinki people on the southern borders of Ghana near the mouth of the Niger River. It was tributary state and held the strategic trading position and dominance over the gold mines of both Wagara and Bore. Among the contestants for secession of the disintegrating empire of Ghana were two of the rebellion provinces, Kaanga and Dara. These were overcome by nearby kingdoms of Terror under the leadership of Samuguru, who succeeded in capturing the capital of Ghana, Kube Sela, in 1203. He undertook a task of rebuilding the empire, providing to be unequal to it, and was defeated by the Mandika king, the Sadat. How you pronounce that title?
Sundiata.
Sundiata, and the historical battle of Krikarina in 1240. The battle outcome was the beginning of the Mali Empire. That's important. That transpired. That was the beginning of the Mali Empire. Under the empire of, say that one more time, Sudad. What? Say that one more time.
Sundiata, the Lion King.
Sundiata, Kiata, and Masa Ula. There was a systematical reorganization of consolidation of the form of empires of expansions beyond it. So Mansa Musa came to the throne in 1312. He had a solid foundation, which he did. He followed this foundation that transpired in 1240. He had a solid foundation upon which to build what was to become one of the greatest empires of all times and to be recognized as such around the world. But two things should be noted there. The first is that both Ghana and Mali included strong Arabic Berber tribal states under their rule. Most of these were united desert society. Now, going back real quick, he stated, and Chancellor Williams is stating the first is that both Ghana and Mali included strong Arabic/Berber tribal states under their rule. Most of these were united desert society. So again, on page 99, where Satep reiterated who these Berbers were, the reminder: Berbers and Arabs generally include Black, African, Afro-Berbers, and Afro-Arabs, all converting to Islam. They occupied the surroundings strategy points of power, and that's just my opinion. I don't really talk some of the things that happened in these empires like Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. I don't really revere them as much, as talk about them as much, because of this Islam influence that took place in these particular empires. And I understand what happened and why the kings had to do certain things in order for them to be in position during this time. Strategy points of power. They were able to harass and raid the great caravans conducting the vast important exports of trades in Black states across the Sahara. The armed escort guards were powerless against them because they could throw a mile-long caravan into disarray and confusion by the tactics of a sudden attack and withdrawal. Attacks and withdrawals until the heavily landed fleets were at the mercy. These caravan trails and the lifeline empires were regularly under attack, threatened. One solution to the problem is believed was for black kings to become Muslims. Embracing Islam became not merely a policy of expediency, whatever. Arab and Berber Muslims gained the dominant foothold in Black Africa, but it became a compelling means to economic survival. The Muslims not only control all important caravan trails, but all African ports of trades with the world. And I'll stop right there. And again, like I said, I don't really talk a whole lot about these three great empires, because it was heavily influenced by Muslims, and at that particular time, like we're talking about economics and their survival, and these Muslims, control these different different slave routes, and for some of these kings to conform, they conformed and became Muslims. You know what I'm saying? And these Muslims offer them certain privileges. They wouldn't be attacked by these certain raids, you know what I'm saying, when they trying to go out and trade. Like they may be trying to go and trade salt for wheat, you know what I'm saying? So now they won't be raided through these slave trades trying to go and barter and trade. So that was one of the benefits. They ain't got to worry about being attacked, these attacks, if they converted into a Muslim. So you see a lot of the kings began to convert into Muslims. I'll stop right there, man. Anybody else can expound and go a little bit further than that, or even go down, because it's a whole lot we could talk about just on this one page.
Well, I'm gonna say Chancellor Williams say that they converted to not be attacked or have protection. I'm not gonna say that though, because they weren't going. They weren't going like that. Like, ain't nobody just finna come up in. They weren't finna come in West Africa bringing the sword like they was coming in other parts of Africa. So it was mainly because of trade, and if it weren't for this trade, they definitely wouldn't have been at the same. They wouldn't have reached the heights that they reached without this trade. You know what I'm saying? And you got to go by a case by case basis with the kings, because some of them was fucking with it, some of them really wasn't. Like you'll see that with Askew. I mean, you'll see that with
you was and you will see with the successor after him, you start seeing the same thing. But and some of them, you'll see too, like with the kings, you will see that they did do it, but I guess they kind of I don't know, they did do it in a certain aspect, but they didn't do it in a certain aspect. But then, like I said, when you see with one of the kings, you start seeing what he wasn't messing with, he wasn't rocking with it he wasn't rocking with it all. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, they adopted the Islamic practices and customs that kind of fit their narrative. You know what I'm saying? So they weren't going too far away from the indigenous systems. So basically what it was they was really like following the rituals and customs. They wasn't following Islamic law, Sharia. They wasn't following Sharia. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't going too far away from whatever their ancestral religion was as well. So it was really like more for show. That's why they call them nominal Muslims, because they just Muslim by name. They just profess it. But then you got them ones that's gonna go back into the bush and practice magic, like my man Sonny Ali.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else ain't got nothing?
Yeah. I'm gonna sum up the first couple pages. I mean, y'all already went over it. I was gone. I was gonna say, I'm just put it like this, like speaking from how Islam or Muslims came into West Africa or the land of the blacks. You don't see conversion until the 11th century AD. Islam came in 7 AD. So you think in 7 AD, you have one person come into West Africa trying to see what's up. This person professing to be this Muslim, this Arab Allah guy, and he begins to talk about it. He brings it in first. People want to know who his name is. His name is revealed in several texts, but his name is also revealed in the UNESCO and will be revealed in the future text. Because he was whatever they call him, but that's who he was. That's how it comes. So 7 AD, Islam comes, but it don't come like when you think Islam, you're just thinking of a barrage. No, 7 AD, then 11 AD, people began to start converting. All right, before the conversion of Islam, trade in the Sahara was minimal. Slowing it down, before the conversion to Islam, trade in the Sahara was minimum, but it was still trade. People were familiar with the land of the blacks because of the Berbers. The Berbers participated in enslaving and selling people to these European nations. So they was countries. So they was familiar with the land of the blacks, but they looked at them as barbarous people that didn't have no really validity in the world, right? They don't know about the natural resources in West Africa. So when they come, that's how they coming. That's why you hear them make a distinction between a Berber Muslim or Arab and then a converted Muslim or West African, whether he be Fulani, Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, Iwi, whether he be, Wolof, Siri, it don't matter. You get conversion. You know what I'm saying? And then from that, you start seeing people doing it like they've been saying for business purposes. Christianity, Islam, one of the two biggest trade religions in Africa. They there to do business. After 11 AD, when kings began to become converted, then you get the Arab making more of you get more of a presence in West Africa. Then if you skip, and he's still on 201, but if you skip and you go to, since we're talking empires, you don't get these empires until you get these Arabs coming in the area. Once the Arabs is in the area, trade began to ramp up a little bit more. People began to get money. Then it was a switch to do business. So some of them did it willingly. A lot of them rejected it wholeheartedly, like F you. And we're going to find that out when we go further on. But I did hear some familiar names, and then we already dealt with Ghana. And then we talked about Mali. So, excuse me. So let's go to 202, and let's deal with the second.
I know it. Go ahead.
The second important fact to be noted is that the Arab Berber position near and within the empire was the base from which the fanatical Almoravids spread the Islamic religion in West Africa within an uncompromising aggressiveness unmatched in the history of religion. Their proselytizing brotherhoods were camps of militant missionaries. They were hostile to the blacks, masses, because the masses actively resisted conversion to Islam. Here again may be an example of why so many Africans, and especially Afro-Americans, think of Arabs as colored people. For the well-known Almoravids were indeed predominantly mulatto. Now, I don't agree that the Berber are like a mulatto, because genetically Chancellor doesn't have the actual DNA or the genetic sequence in the haplogroups to actually make that distinction and determination that these people were actually mulatto. But you could say they're mulatto because you could say that they have Indo-European and they have Arabian. If you calling that a mulatto, or if you're just trying to break it down and just say they go your mixed people right there. But they were not who we were, right? Why? Because when we're in the same area with the Berbers, foreigners or
Yeah,
these,
he did.
huh?
You think he was calling them mulatto based off their skin color?
Yeah,
Probably so. That's all he had to go off of at
yeah,
that
all
time.
that's all you
Oh,
got. At that time, when he's writing and doing the research and the things of that nature, he ain't hip to DNA yet. None of them are. Dr. Ben, him, Dr. Clark, none of them. So it's really they're hypothesizing about who these people could potentially be without properly being able to identify these people just based on their observation. Because look, watch what he's saying when you go behind that. He says strong black Muslim kings protected their people. Baramida was the first master king of Mali to embrace Islam in 1050 AD. It's 11th century now. He urged that all succeeding masters do the same. Arabic historians therefore list names as the first kings of Mali. The history of the country began with Islam and the pilgrimage to Mecca, another aspect of the blackout. The emperor kings who became Baramidana did indeed become Muslim, mainly for the reasons mentioned above. Now, just finishing that off right there, he's encouraging other people to become Muslim. Why? So they can continue to rule and expand the empire. Why? Because they had control of certain trade routes and they were already doing business. So you had these earlier masters. That's why in the later part of Malian Empire rule, they switch up from masters to askias. And people really don't talk about what made them change from masters to askia. However, the pilgrimages wasn't that important to West Africans like that. It wasn't that important because it, you know what I'm saying? To them, it wasn't a big deal. They had no reason to actually go to Mecca like that. However, it was when you had to show or profess your full conversion or love for Islam that they began to make their pilgrimages to Mecca, and that would solidify them among the rest of the Muslims in Balad El Sudan. I'll pause right there.
All right. Yeah. So Kofi, you said you ain't dealing with the song hard, huh? I mean, I really ain't either. That's why I said I ain't got nothing until page 206. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay, so let me
Yeah, the song are important though.
yeah, they
Yeah, I got some stuff with the song high. I got some stuff with the song high, but go ahead. I mean, it's later on. It's just something that I said, and then Sutek touched on with the education, but something I just want to touch on. But go ahead.
all right, I'm gonna go right after Sean on 203. It says at the top, it says, such was the great Mary Jalak, known to fame as Mansa Musa. It appears that his driving ambition was to be known worldwide as the greatest black Muslim in all Africa. He succeeded and it paid off on all fronts except among the masses of common people. So the common folk wasn't feeling that. They wasn't feeling that he was riding for Islam so hard and he was showing out with all his gold and etc. You know what I'm saying? And that him wanting to be so famous, he succeeded, but it did come at a cost. And that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say get volume 3 if you want to know more about it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, get chapter 3, man.
No, go ahead, bro.
Go ahead, Kof. You going behind?
Yeah. Let's jump to page.
I was trying to
Hold
say
on,
something real
let's
quick, but go ahead. It's cool.
Oh yeah, my bad.
You still on 203 September?
Nah, T'Challa, he just unmuted his mic.
Yeah, go ahead, T'Challa. We ain't heard from you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add that, you know, these Mandinka that we speaking on, they definitely not just, even right now today, you know, they might be practicing Islam And that's what you see in terms of their religion when they come over here. That's what they identify with. Or you might go over there and you say, they doing something for Ramadan, but guess what they playing at the end of Ramadan and the Tabaski festival?
You playing that djembe
All night long, brother. Like I'm talking about, that's the club banger. That's their culture. It bang, yo, like all night. They not going like they not Muhammad. No, I'm not gonna speak on every last human being that's over there. But what I'm saying is, as a culture overall, the Mandinka are a proud people like any other African. You see what I'm saying? Whether they accepted Islam through trade or not, they are still what we call West African. Every time we reference them, we always say West African. So by that distinction alone, we're making a distinction on any other Abrahamic faith that they practice in order to continue to survive, because foreigners is in their land, you know what I mean, and they interacting with them. And I just want to say, in terms of, like, instead of going hard and just saying, pull out the sword and behead them like Sean want to do, they was probably, a little bit too nice in terms of accepting everything for trade. And as a king, you trying to, do what you think is right for your people, or do what you want to do. You have your agenda. So there's many ins and outs as to why African kings accepted Islam for their different, states or whatever. But it is something to be said about letting so many foreigners in and wanting to do business with everybody and allowing people to take over trades in the first place that's foreign in your lands. I have an issue with that as well. So I don't romanticize Africa. We have to look at it from all sides. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's consequences to trying to let everybody into your business. So when we talk about race first, certain things are for Black people only. And I'm talking about sub-Saharan African Black people. That's it.
All right, the last paragraph for 203 before transitioning to Songhai is important because it talks about the decline. It says it didn't begin to the 1400s under weaker successors. The Ghana story of internal disunity and strife repeated itself, which would be true. After 1550, Mali as an empire was little more than an inspiring memory. They followed the usual array of numerous small and independent states, each ripe for easy conquest by a stronger power. Islam was that power. It continued to spread as various Black rulers followed examples of Mansa Musa and became Muslim, just as Mali had spread over former Ghana Empire. Songhai was the spread over Mali. Now, before the ruling of that, I think this is the key to all of this. You got Ghana running. You know what I'm saying? They got gold, they got all that stuff going on, they got conversion going on, and they got these other foreigners coming into the land. You're dealing with Berbers from Morocco who saw you as something other than someone running things, right? They like to say you really don't have nothing until you get Arabs in the country. But you did have some. You had small trade. Not on the level of everything else, but you had small trade. But you also have writers like Leo Africanus, who is writing about you. That's why you need to pick up Spears Volume 2 from Spears the Pen Volume 2. It's writing about you. What he's writing about along those time periods later on is that these people saw you for what you are, right? He's saying that he saw you for something else. They're saying that, and I'm talking, when I say this I'm saying Afrikaners and other Arab supposedly scholars, because that's what they claim to be, scholars. Anyone, but really their definition of scholars was anyone who was well studied in the Quran, right? So a religious person. So when they write about you, they are saying things about you such as you were primitive, as Kofi like to say all the time, but you didn't have nothing at all, absolutely nothing. They brought business to this area. Not only did they bring business to this area, but they are responsible for developing these kingships that are being mentioned right here. So you have a Ghana, Ghanaian rule, an empire. You have a Mali empire, and now you have Songhai, which is where we are.
Yeah, that's a good point there, Sean. What you got, Kobe?
I ain't got nothing to page 205. I just wanted to kind of talk about the Black revival of learning. But if Sutek has something before we get to that, because Sean ended before we got to the Songhai, excuse me, before we get to the Songhai Empire in the 15 and 16 dynasty. So if you want, you got something before 205, Sutek, you can go in.
Yeah, okay. I got something at the bottom of 204.
204.
Yeah, that last paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it says, so it was that rapid expansion in all directions was resumed when Sunni Ali, perhaps the greatest of Songhai emperors, came to the throne in 1464. He became a nominal Muslim for the for the same economic reasons that influenced other black kings. The Muslims not only controlled trade with Asia and Europe, but they also dominated trading activities in towns and cities through resident merchants. The wealth of the nation depended very largely on the cooperation of them. The African people, on the other hand, were generally anti-Muslim. The problem of all African kings was how to be Muslim without alienating the people. The Sunni Ali was powerful enough to play it both ways. It became clear to the Arabs and Berbers that his real loyalty was to the traditional religions of Africa. They never forgave him. However, at the close of his 35 years of leadership as a great general and statesman in 1492, the Songhai Empire rivaled that of Mali in wealth and territorial expansion. So I pointed that out to say that Sunni Ali balanced Islam and the way of the ancestors very delicately to the point where uh, he didn't want to offend his subjects, you know what I'm saying, the people of his kingdom, because that can come with consequences. You know what I'm saying? Like we read earlier, uh, people would migrate, you would have rebellions. You know what I'm saying? They could somebody from the court would even kill you if you was the king and you was getting too Muslim. You know what I'm saying? So the people weren't going for that. You know, so you could be a Muslim by name, but once you start getting into too much of that Muslim stuff, you're gonna have a problem with the people. And hopefully you won't take it because the people going at your neck. Yeah, that's all I got on that page. You go to 205.
All right, well, I'll just start right at the bottom of 204, and then I'll lead into the...
Well, never mind. Go, Kofi. Go.
No, you got some, man. Go ahead.
Go.
All right, 204. We'll start at 204. Right at the bottom, and then we'll go into the Black revival of learning. The two principal seats of learning in Timbuktu and Guinea had been included in Songhai northward and westward sweep. It was at Timbuktu that two of the great African writers of the period wrote the famous histories in Arabic. Tariq el-Fatish by Mahmud Keita and Tariq el-Sudan by Rahman as-Sadah. The most famous African scholars during this period of Songhai intellectual flowering was the bibliography and the lexicograph. Ahmed Babo, born in 1526, they all wrote in Arabic, just as Black Americans today all write in English, and for that same reason. All right, going into the Black revival of learning, the Songhai greatness was due to something more and remarkable expansion of its empire over the territory larger than the continent of Europe. This was great, but greater by far was the grand scale of which the rivals of learning spread it among the Blacks of West Africa, the Western Sudan, or the land of the Blacks. Three of the principal centers of learning were Guinea, Gao, and Timbuktu. At the head of the educational system at Timbuktu was the world-famous University of Saqqara, drawing students from all all West Africa and scholars from different foreign countries. It was especially noted that its high standards of scholarship and therefore exacting admission requires, about which there were some complaints. The university structures consist of 1, faculty of law, 2, medicine of surgery, 3, letters, 4, grammar, 5, geographic, and 6, arts, or arts had to do with such practical training as manufacturing, building, or others allied crafts. After the basic training and the expertise required was through the traditional apprenticeship systems in the various craft guides. There were thousands of students from all parts of West Africa and other regions. We have no records of the exact numbers. The account also mentioned a large number of scientists, doctors, lawyers, and other scholars. At the university, within the given exact numbers, perhaps none necessary in the 15th and the 16th century. I thought me reading right here was going to go into, well, this is when we're talking about the 3 basic institutions, talking about the University of Saqqara. And am I saying that Saqqara? Is it Sankore or it's Sankore? Yeah, and it's talking about the University construction, but it may be on another page where it talks about, because I wanted to talk about how, you know, like they already talk about the writings. A lot of the scholars that went to these universities or these higher schools or upper echelons, you know what I'm saying? They was writing in Arabic, and then a lot of these schools, the curriculum was based around where, you know, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, looked like there was no escaping it. There was no escaping some form of Muslim, even if you didn't deal with the politics and the economics and so forth, but you was a student who wanted to go to these institutions, Jenny, Gaio, or Timbuktu, you know what I'm saying, and get a great education. It still wasn't no escaping from what I'm reading on this page on 205, and it might go into 206. That maybe what I was talking about. It was no escaping the Quran. I mean, the Quran was a curriculum. I think learning Arabic was a curriculum. And it was something else I can't remember that was curriculum. If you went to these schools, go ahead.
You had to learn to read, write, and speak in Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
It was the law for anyone, for any child that could not get the Quran down or the verses or the indoctrination down. You were punished. You were punished in front of your peers, and no one wanted to be punished in front of their peers. They have instances where this, you know, there was a lot of abuse there by Arabs, and even converted people who in the areas who talk about how the school was set up. I mean, you have to remember, and I said this earlier, to be considered scholastic, you had to be well versed in the Quran. You had to be able to not only to know the Quran, you had, you know, speak it in a way that you can convey it to everybody else. This over anything. You can't have nothing without knowing how to do any of that. That's how the school system was set up. That's why you can see you don't see the advancement as such, because everything was about Allah, the spread of this religion.
So prior, now this is just a question I'm asking, because okay, so what you saying? So prior to let's say someone like myself in West Africa, and I wanted to go to one of these institutions, Gaio, Timbuktu, or the other one, what's the other, Jenny, or Janine, or however you pronounce it. Did I have to be versed in the Quran? Because, and that's where
you can't get into the institution if you're not versed in
okay, and right, and I thought that was once you got into it, there was no escaping it, because like right here,
Nah, everything about that. Everything is about the Quran, Islamic law, Sharia, and the language.
Right.
And that's basically the core curriculums. So people glorify and fantasize Timbuktu, which we haven't got to, but Timbuktu, because of the scholarship around in that area and at that time, that is infused with Islamic horse crap.
Yeah, man. Yeah, one of the things they'll do is make you memorize the Quran. You gotta memorize it. You know what I'm saying? It's not just learning it. You gotta memorize that motherfucker and be able to recite it off memory, off the top.
And see, that's why.
If you fuck up, you getting whipped. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of the abuse that Sean talking about. But go ahead, Step.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say like that's part of like so like I don't know if y'all ever heard if you walk into them Arab shops and you hear them playing that music in the background and it just sounds like somebody just singing one monotone song, just like I'm playing the Quran because they had to put the Quran in song. They put the Quran, I ain't gonna say they had to, but they put the Quran in song form for that purpose so they could remember it. I don't know if y'all know that.
Yeah, you have to know Arabic. And you have to when you recite the Quran, that's how they recite it. They sing that motherfucker.
Yeah, they do it. Yeah, they do it in song form, man. Because I walked into a spot one day, and I was talking to the dude. I'm like, "What's that? Is that?" I'm like, I surprised him, but I just guessed. I'm like, "Is that the Quran?" He looked at me like, "How you know that?" I'm like, "Shit." I was like, "I don't know." So remember I showed y'all that Quran I got.
Yeah.
That I got that from dude. Dude gave it to me. Like, dude was like, "Here, man, you take this." Like,
he tried to convert you.
nah, he wasn't gonna convert me. But I mean, I took it because it was a gift. I was in his place of business. I come there often. I shop by little do rags or whatever when I had waves, and I would chop it up with dudes. So one day I just asked him, and then that's what it was. And I asked him, I was like, so what? Why is it in like? Is it a song? And he was like, no. It's like it's the Quran. It's in Arabic, but it's in song form, so we can remember it and we can always. I'm like, oh, okay. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm just gonna read on 206 just exactly what we're talking about. Chancellor William is talking about that. He says the last Jews were made and more widespread among the blacks than it would have been any otherwise. Arabic, therefore, was the language used by the black scholars in West Africa, whether they were Muslims or not. And the same here, we speak in English. The same here, we go to their institutions, we have to speak their language. We speak in English when we go to college. We have to learn, So same thing. And it's black scholars of West Africa, whether they were Muslim or not, but the study of the Islamic Quran, law and literature, as Sean stated, was at the core of the university curriculum. And all this made the widespread revival of learning in Africa appear to be entirely Muslim affairs. Now I have a question, and I'm just saying, I just have a whole bunch of questions, reading this. Now, just going back to reading that, and we talking about the curriculum, and like I'm saying, I know Sutek and I know Sean is more studied in Arabic culture, customs, what I'm saying, and even the history, what I'm saying. That's not my expertise. So I'm asking them questions and anybody else too. All right, did the European observe this and then take this model and then apply this, what I'm saying? And and I'm just gonna speak for the United States because I don't know about South America schools institution or the Caribbean institution, but the United States, did they observe this model and then copy it and use it? Because the same thing that we reading is the same thing that they doing with us here in the United States.
Yep, definitely. They definitely took the model. They took the whole the systematic slavery model. They took all of that, bro. They took all of that from the Arab. The colorism. You dark skin, you black, or you a Hamite, so you are a natural slave. Like they took all that from the Arabs. all that. So yeah, they definitely did.
Mm.
And so can we observe, going in on your point, Kofi, that so this within the Black community here in America, we got this pushback against literacy and being smart.
Say that again. Oh, hold on. Sutek, you might have to mute your mic. It's feedback.
So basically being smart and being educated is, you know, looked at a certain way. So, you know, and I'm speaking from just cultural knowledge that I have of the area, what's going on at the time. You know, the Numu are the blacksmiths specifically. When you want to talk about who the blacksmiths were, that's the Numu. They're very intelligent people. Blacksmiths are extremely intelligent people. And they will demonstrate just how experienced they are with life and just how smart they are with their ingenuity and their engineering skills in a heartbeat. And it only take, like, in Africa, they have to come up with ways. They have to invent their own because they don't have the industrial revolution like we have. So they have to, you know what I'm saying? And especially at that time, technology for them, the Numu are demonstrating their skills. They're not really like dumb people. And when I say Numu, I mean just our native sub-Saharan West African people. They're very extremely intelligent. And so when we compare that against those institutions that's glorified, for instance, of Timbuktu, anytime you hear about Mali, that's the only thing you want to talk about. And what I'm saying is, based on the history and the culture of these people in the area, the intellect, it's a disrespect to try to measure it to, you know, having to go to Timbuktu to be educated. And I know we understand this, but in America, we have this same pushback against, like, oh, because you know, if you're not going to go to college, then people look down upon you in terms of your education skills. And even I want to say specifically literacy, because literacy doesn't necessarily equate to intelligence. Just because you can read European script and you can just, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know how to read every last syllable and word, that don't necessarily mean that you understand and comprehend what you're reading. And it doesn't equate to intelligence. Like, I feel like we have that stigma in the Black community on both sides where we downplay those who don't necessarily read well in school. So we tease them and we ostracize them and they don't want to go to school. And then we have the whole idea of the only way of being educated is being in the European institution or a foreign institution for that matter. In this case, Arab.
I mean, I agree with you. You're right, because I see that now, and that's just in, you know, the conscious community alone, you know, those that goes to these foreign institutions. Like I say this all the time, and like I'm not gonna lie, I was in college, went back and got back into college. I've been out of college for like a year. But I'm going back hopefully in August. But I always say all the time that those European institutions doesn't validate me. I don't need their piece of paper to tell them that I'm well studied in a particular subject matter. You know what I'm saying? I don't need their credentials. But I know, you know, and, you know, just speaking with people in general, or just people in general, does the same thing. You know, people that has a higher what they call a higher education, when they go to these different European institutions, some begin to look down on those that did go to these institutions or feel like they better because they did go to these foreign institutions. The same thing with the conscious community. A lot of times, you know, we don't take a person seriously unless they went to one of these foreign universities. Okay, if they ain't got the credentials, so they ain't got the credentials, so we don't have to worry about it. So I mean, that's confusing to me. So which one is it? You know what I'm saying? We only smart because we go to their institutions and then they give us a piece of paper saying that, okay, we completed 4 years of being in their institution. Therefore, they make us smart. They make us a scholar. That makes us intellectual. That make us going to succeed in the world. whatever the case may, whatever the case may be. So I'm saying, which I don't know. That's why I get confused at which one is it. Sometimes we debate going to these foreign institutions, and then sometimes when we debate in orders, they have to have these credentials from the foreign institution in order for us to take seriously. Like we can't be well studied or endowed in a particular subject matter without having to go to these European institutions.
Let me answer that, Kofi, because and I want to say this too, y'all, before I get into that. It's all right that he went off subject, because we're gonna go ahead and end this stream right here in 10 minutes, and then we're gonna take a 10-minute break, and we will be back live at 9:30, y'all, Eastern Standard Time. So basically 20 minutes from now, we're gonna go back live again. I just don't want this show to be too long for people that may watch it later, so we're gonna do this part 1, and then we're gonna go back and do part 2 in 20 minutes. So, and yeah, just to answer your fast forward, let's answer your question, Kofi. I believe it depends on the study, because you don't want somebody doing open heart surgery that didn't go to university for it. You know what I'm saying? You don't want somebody doing brain surgery that didn't go to school for neuroscience. You know what I'm saying? You can say you read all the neuroscience books you want, but for you to work on my body, I need you to I need to see some plaques or something that's showing me that you went to school, you sat down, you took discipline and all that stuff. Now when it comes to using it as credentials in the conscious community, that means nothing. That means nothing in this community, because who we talking to? I'm talking to you. We talking history. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to go to school for history to write a book on history. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say it just depends on the subject matter. If you need to go to the university or not for certain things, man. That's just me, Kofi. What do you think?
I mean, I'm still confused. I mean, because you can't. What I'm saying, okay, it's all right for me to talk history, and culture. I don't have to go to those Europeans to validate that, meaning that I can read, I can comprehend, you know what I'm saying? I can even go do field work, field research, you know what I'm saying? And, I don't have to have the credentials. But in the other token, but I kind of get what you're saying a little bit, but in the other token, when it's dealing with the medical field, I can't let you do anything to me, even if you show me, even if you talk the talk, even if you can talk the talk and you can explain how to do open heart surgery, how to open up a skull, how to put the skull back together, brain surgery, or whatever it is. If you can talk the talk and even, show it, but I can't take you serious unless the people validate you, because they're going to make sure that you have been demonstrating it properly before. I mean, I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what, and that's what you're saying. Exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get you. I get what you're saying. Because I can agree with that.
That form of validation that you're talking about is the paper form that they give you at the end when you get your degree, because you got to go to school for a while to be any type of medical profession. You know what I'm saying? And then once you get to the last 2 stages of any degree, you're doing field work. You're doing field work. You're not doing all the book works is the first 2 years, 3 years, but that last year, you're doing a lot of field work. You setting up stuff, to succeed outside of the university. So it, like I said, it just depends on the field of study with me, man. To where, yeah.
To what I mean when I personally say that, and I know we kind of went left with the subject and whatnot, but I'm talking about like certain doctors that will, MDs that come over here and want to practice, their credentials are not honored because they didn't go to an American institution. I'm talking about even on that level, to where I know plenty of people from Africa, from India, who get their PhD, go, dissertation, they go through the whole 9, go through all their schooling, get over here, and they're not properly recognized.
Yeah, they say it's not accredited because the reason why it's not accredited is because different countries have different medical practices. Different, it's regulated over here in the US. To where if if you ain't got the right credentials upon this guideline to whatever field you in, it's not accredited. You need to come over here and get some type of, they may take the first couple years that you did. That's just the general study. But when it comes down to, the nitty gritty, they're going to want you to get that from over here. Cause like, it's a lot of people that go out of the country to get certain procedures done because, they only do that there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I just, shedding light for the people. That's all.
Yep. I hope that helped you out, love, Kofi.
Yeah, man.
What page did y'all end? We ended on 206, right?
Yeah, 206. That's how we got on that topic, because we got on the same thing. I was asking a question about, did the Europeans copy this same format that the Arabs did? And Sutek answered my question with that. They did copy that same format, that same formula with the schools institution, because the same thing they doing, the Muslims was doing and adding to their curriculum and such is the same thing that the Europeans is doing here. Yeah, we doing the same thing. So, but yeah, man, that's how we kind of got out. But go ahead and end the show.
All right. Yeah, y'all. We're gonna come right back. Go ahead. We're gonna come right back at 9:30. Do what you gotta do. Get your refreshments or whatever. We'll be right back. I'm gonna end this broadcast and then we're gonna start the next one up. It'll be part 2. We're gonna start on 206 because I got a couple things marked on here. So yeah, we'll be right back.